Welcome to the Bastrop Podcast. Real people, real stories, all from right here in Bastrop, Texas. I'm your host, Matt Walker, a local business owner, realtor, and entrepreneur with Wisdom House Realty Group and Bastrop Drone and Media Company. We sit down with the locals shaping our community, from the mayor's office to Main Street shops, and bring you the voices behind the town we call home. Good morning, everybody. I'm sitting down with Ben Zuniga. Ben, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's great to be on the podcast, and I'm excited for this.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in music?
Yeah, I've been playing music since I was 8. That's when I got my first guitar. Bought it from a pawn shop on my 8th birthday and didn't know anything about music. Nobody in my family really played. I just seen it on TV and thought it was cool. But I was hooked with music. My dad's a big music buff. And so I always loved listening to music. Probably by the time I was 12, I started playing at church. My older sister said, we need a guitar player. The first time I joined a band at church, I was hooked. I loved playing with others and started gigging on the Austin music scene when I was 15 and never stopped.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool to hear. What's it like growing up and building a career in Bastrop? And has the town influenced your music in any way?
Yeah. My folks moved the family to Bastrop County when I was pretty young still. Growing up around here, I think what was great is I had a community that I was able to be a part of. It wasn't too big to not really have a place. I had a place to grow, a community that needed me. And I think that does something to a young musician. It's really great to get that real experience of having opportunities to play and be a part of various groups and bands. So I think if I were to say like something that's really shaped me through it was just the opportunity. I had lots of opportunity from a very young age to play not only in church, but play at the local venues and restaurants and all kinds of different bands and stuff that I've worked with.
Have you found growing up in Bastrop that it's always had that kind of music scene, these different venues that the community were driven to?
Yeah, not so much when I was younger. There was a music scene, but it was very small. The number of places you could play was 2 or 3, maybe. When I was about 20, and I'm 34 now, I started working at a music store called Larryland Music here in Bastrop. It was really great, something that happens in a small community. Through that store, which I worked at for 5 years, I was able to meet all the locals, all the local musicians. And I would say from around that time is when I saw the music community jump light years, and the number of venues you could perform at, the amount of interest I saw. And that was a great opportunity to see musicians coming together. And it felt like there was a good music community for me, just a bunch of friendships and connection being made.
So you've been part of the Bastrop and Austin music scene for years, playing for other artists and now leading your own band. What inspired you to step into the spotlight with your solo career?
So first off, I would say it was really because along with my love of guitar playing, I've always loved songs. I've always loved songwriting, and the two really grew together. I was in my first bands as a kid at church and started writing songs, and I would write songs all the time, and I'd always be listening to lyrics in music. And so working as a guitar player in other groups, I found that was the only thing that was really lacking. My songs had no voice. I was very thankful, and I'm still thankful when I get to just be a guitar player. I love supporting other people's music and all that. But with my love of songwriting, I really knew that I had to have some sort of outlet for these songs to have a life. And that's really what spurred me on. And it's a longevity thing, career-wise, so that people would know not just the folks I've worked with, but also know me as well.
Yeah, I definitely get that. And I get wanting to have that. You've had these things percolating inside you for a while, and now you're able to release it to the world. So that's right. That's awesome.
And I've performed longer than I've released music under my own name, but releasing music to me is part of leaving a legacy and leaving something to look back on. So I'm excited to be doing that now.
Nice. How would you describe your music style? Are there any influences on your songwriting?
So that kind of goes back to my father's musical taste, which was just paramount to me in my development. He always loved Motown and early rock and roll, and some great bands from the 60s and 70s, especially. And that really formed me. My older brother introduced me to kind of your 80s and 90s rock and all that. But through that, I really developed kind of an old soul musically. So I describe my music as really Americana roots and rock and roll. So it's kind of everything, and that's a general term. It means I like all kinds of old traditional styles, It doesn't mean that I necessarily play them in old ways. I try and make it fresh, but all my inspiration comes from very old things. My wife just says I was born in the wrong era, but
That's not a bad
what are you
thing.
going to do?
Yeah, exactly. We're
Too far into it.
So your album, People Who Dance, put you on the map. What was the process creating and releasing that album?
Well, I hope it put me on the map. So that was really just circumstances of the world during COVID. We had all these musicians stuck at home and we weren't gigging. And so a lot of people started recording from home for the first time. And I was one of them. And it was a perfect time to say, you know what? I'm not doing anything else. Why not do something with my songs? And I'd always wanted to have a home studio. So I got to work on that. And I'm probably getting off the question, but I would say that that record for me was really just deciding that my songs were going to have a life. And I was going to just commit to an album, to doing 10 songs. And so I released it in 2022. And honestly, it was great because I saw the shift in people's perception. They've always known me as a guitar player, and I had a band in my early 20s, but it wasn't my own name. And then I feel like just putting out an album under my own name, especially a full-length album, it was great to show people like, hey, this is a songwriter too. And he's got things to say, and he's got a very good wide blend of styles that he loves and can do. And it's been really awesome to be able to have that take form.
Now, I feel like I'm about to ask you to pick your favorite child, but are there any songs that are especially meaningful to you?
Yeah, there's so many, but it's not always the ones that I thought were going to mean the most. To me, what I've experienced with my first solo album is that the songs that end up meaning the most to me, at least right now, are the ones that I see meaning something to other people. On a darker note, there's a song on the album called Lonely Time. It's an acoustic song. And it was just written from a lonely headspace and maybe a little bit darker time, but it's meant a lot to folks who have listened to it. And then the flip side, probably my favorite song on the album is People Who Dance, which is the title. And it's really kind of an ode to people who get out and support live music, people who have fun. They come out to have fun and dance and enjoy the music. So when I see a song really working and touching people, it finds a special place in my heart for sure.
Nice. So you're not just a musician, but also a worship pastor at Celebration Community Church. How do you balance your music career with your role in the church?
Well, that is one that has been something that's changed over the years. When I was a kid or teenager, it was difficult because I was still performing at a very young age and still playing in church bands. And you would get people that didn't understand that both were me. The older I've gotten, the more I've realized that it's all ministry and I'm always the same person. To me, I love the fact that I get to be a part of the local church in Bastrop and have a role to play, have relationships there that are important and I'm fostering and fellowship with other believers. But to be connected with my community in a way that goes beyond the church walls is super important to me. And what I think I've strived for is to not live a compartmentalized life, but to be the same guy wherever I'm at. So whether I'm playing in a bar on Saturday night or in the church on Sunday morning, it should be the same guy. And I think being able to have both keeps me grounded and it keeps me always striving to be just that same person.
Yeah, and there's an authenticity to that of no matter what venue you're at,
Right.
church or a bar or a restaurant or whatever, you're yourself. And that's great.
And, we all have that too. And that's what I've tried and drive home with people who have misunderstood it, in the past. I've always tried to drive that home. Like everyone has multiple things they do. We all face the same challenge to not be compartmentalized, to just be one authentic person.
What's special about the Bastrop music scene? Are there any local venues or events that are close to your heart?
Yeah, there's music scenes everywhere, and Austin has an incredible music scene. But I think in Bastrop, I can safely say that most of the musicians know each other. A lot of us know each other, and a lot of us are invested to some extent in each other's career. We're happy to see each other doing well. We keep tabs on each other. We support each other. To me, that's just something that's so special about being in a smaller town. Of course, we're a growing town too. It feels like things that are new get a good introduction. And the foundation here in Bastrop is really solid. And that to me is one of the things that I love about this community and why I don't think I could ever see myself leaving, but who knows?
Yeah. And with that, do you see like a less competitive nature than you might see in maybe a bigger city of like, there's more cooperation instead of butting heads?
Oh, I like that question. So the less competitive nature. Yeah, I think so in a way. I think obviously there's an iron sharpens iron. And when you are inspired by other great artists, which I think Bastrop has lots of great artists, there will be this not competitive, but more an iron sharpens iron thing that occurs. But I think to your point, there's a much more positive outcome when there's friendships as well. It's not just peers trying to fight for a place at the top. There's a lot of encouragement that goes on.
People want to see people succeed.
Yeah, that's just simple as it gets, but it's true.
Have you noticed any changes in Bastrop's community or music culture in recent years?
I do think so. Yeah. When people start to have more and more opportunities to come out and hear more live music on more occasions, in more venues and more ways, I think naturally people start to develop their appetite. By making it available, you create a market for it, and you also find the people who are going to support that. Now, when I see a friend play or even my own show, I feel like there's a larger audience and the audience keeps growing for live music in Bastrop. And it was really good because there are also visual artists from here, all kinds of various art forms. And when one succeeds, it tends to have a systemic effect. And I feel like that's a really positive kind of systemic effect that people have an appetite for real, authentic art in the community.
Nice.
Whether it be live music or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So your brother Theo joins you on drums. How did that dynamic come about? And what is it like working with family on stage?
It's really cool. That is something that I always wanted. Of course, in my early years playing at home and honing my crafts, he was the younger brother. He's almost 4 years younger than me. And I told him, I need a drummer and you're going to be a drummer. And pulled out the pots and pans and some chopsticks we had lying around. And I would sit there and play my classical guitar and he would bang on pots and pans. And I would always drag him along when I was ready to make some music. Eventually we bought him a drum kit one Christmas and it started sounding more real. And we grew up jamming together. But what was interesting is when I took my love of music to the professional arena, and of course he went to school for computer science and is a programmer with a full-time job. However, I always had that itch to still make music with my brother like we did when we were kids. And so when I started recording People Who Dance, I said, I want you to play drums on this. And he did. And since then, it's been about 4 years, almost 5 probably. And it just gets sweeter and sweeter and better. We have very different musical tastes, actually. But he is just one of the best people I know. And he's really grown into the styles that I love. And it's just a joy. I love making music with people that I genuinely want to be around. And so there's a strength there just from that.
Can you tell us about the Sweetheart Sessions and your upcoming singles? How do these new songs reflect where you're at creatively right now?
Yeah. So put out a record, the People Who Dance in 2022. And my initial band around that record worked really hard for a couple of years and we were just going nuts and just playing as much as possible. Got a little bit of burnout, started kind of taking the foot off playing as much with that group and went through some changes. I met my current bass player, a good friend of mine, Ryan Lee, who was a sound engineer at Bugle Boy in LaGrange. And we really kicked things off. Later, he would become the bass player with me for a few shows. And I had some new songs that I wanted to record. He actually is the engineer at a studio in Elgin called Sweetheart Studios. And so I went and checked out the studio and it was just gorgeous. It's a beautiful place. If anyone wants to record at a gorgeous local studio, Sweetheart Studios in Elgin is the place. So I told him I want to get in the studio with you and Theo, and I want to just have a session where we record 3 tunes. And that's what we did. So it was all cut live in a room playing together, which was nice because obviously, as I mentioned before, People Who Dance was a home recorded album. It was great to be back in a full studio, playing in a room with a whole band and cutting it live. The Sweetheart Sessions was just kind of it's called a session because it was just one day in the studio capturing the music. But now it's out there. There's 3 songs that we did and it's out anywhere you can stream music online. It's absolutely free. Go check it out, and just trying to let that music also have a life. I've always been kind of a grassroots guy, so I'm just counting on people to tune in and give it a listen and share it if they think it's worthy. But I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of the work that we did.
Now, when you went into it, did you have all these things swimming around in your head that were ready to fire off for the Sweetheart sessions? Or was it like everybody coming together? I mean, I imagine there's got to be some of that coming together and merging of art styles.
Totally. And that's what's great when you're in a studio that allows you to play together at the same time. I had one of the songs on the EP is a song called Stranger. It's a song I've had for years, and we played it since the band started, but it was unrecorded. And then the other two tracks, See About Me and Don't Want to Say Goodbye, those are brand new tracks. But one thing that we did collaboratively, so obviously I'm the principal songwriter, it's my solo band. However, what's great about being in the studio with guys that you trust and guys that you admire, we were able to really develop those songs and make an arrangement that was really a collaboration of thoughts, putting together, how can we make this really work for a studio version? Live is one thing, live you can get away with different things. And in the studio, you kind of have to be a little bit more of a craftsman at times to make the song take a journey in a studio recording. So there was a lot of great collaboration. We were all surprised at how much we did to it when we got in the studio. It's still raw, it's still us, but there's some cool arrangement for sure.
What's a memorable moment from a live show or your music career that has stuck with you?
Man, that's a tough one. Each year has its milestones, and I kind of set goals for each year. And I've been really thankful to meet most of the goals that I set. I feel I'm probably a pretty goal-oriented person in general, but I just celebrate every victory, really. Every time I have a show and I see friends and new friends coming out to support, that's a massive milestone to me. Anytime I see the music touching people, as I mentioned earlier, people connecting with it, those are the milestones. So I take it really kind of one day at a time. I don't look backwards too much. Every show is a new journey and every new release is a new journey. So I'm just thankful for the people who have stuck with me for years. And I'm thankful for the people who are supporting now and kind of discovering me now and showing their support.
For anyone listening who might not know Bastrop, what's the one thing you'd want them to know about this town?
That there are a lot of good people here. A lot of good people. I just met y'all and y'all are just fantastic. It's just always surprising me the number of great folks that I meet here. Talented, gifted people, skilled people. And I think a lot of us were drawn to Bastrop for the same reasons. So it's a good place to be yourself, be creative, and have a home.
What are 60 seconds of wisdom? Doesn't have to be of music, but it can. Anything you want that you could tell our listeners.
Well, let me see if I can fill 60 seconds with wisdom. No, this is something that I've been on a soapbox with for a little while, but I think it's really important. In this age that we're living in with all kinds of technology, I think it's really important to hone your crafts, hone your skills, hone things that are authentic and human. They don't have to be perfect, but don't phone it in. Don't rely on technology to get you places or to launch you further into a career or anything, but just whatever you're setting out to do, just put in the work to do it. And I think that's a lot of times the reward in and of itself.
I think that makes a ton of sense. And with the proliferation of all the AI tools that are out there, it's a lot of shortcuts that, to your point, got to put in the work to actually have some measurable amounts of, success with it.
To have some knowledge at the end of it, to me, is to have the experience of what you had to maybe learn the hard way sometimes. That's really good.
So how can people connect with you, follow your work, and catch a live show?
Well, of course, we've got social media, which is what it is. I post very regularly on my social medias. That's Ben Zuniga Music, at Ben Zuniga Music on Facebook and Instagram. And then I have a website where I post all my shows. I have links to new and old music on there. I have bios for those that don't know me at all. But I post all my dates on there, and that's benzunigamusic.com.
Awesome. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you wanted to talk about?
No, I've got new music out. Please check it out. I appreciate everyone who's doing that. These days with streaming music, artists aren't really making anything on the music they recorded. So really the reward is when people will give it their ear and their time. So check it out and come to a show. That's one of the greatest ways you can really support as well. But I appreciate it so much.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us and chatting. This has been great. Getting to know you more.
Been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Bastrop Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, follow us on Instagram at wisdomhouse_TX and share it with a neighbor. We're here every week with the new conversations from people who make Bastrop feel like home. Got someone you think we should interview? Reach out. We'd love to hear from you.